This episode is sponsored by Girl Dinner. Girl Dinner, Girl Dinner, oh yes, Girl Dinner.
I guess I'll never get my moment in the spotlight.
Bobby, wait.
Yes, Dad?
Why don't you drape this poncho over you till we get to the car?
Is it okay to be fat? I'd say yes, of course, be as fat as you like. No one can or should stop you. Everyone's lives are different and with different comfort levels and lifestyles. But let's not be pedantic with the whole, but excuse me, being fat is actually really unhealthy. Well, you know what? So is smoking, drinking, and touching the demon core, but everyone's tempted to look cool and try those. It's called living within moderation. Maybe I'll smoke 4 packs a day. Maybe I'm tired of looking at my great dick and I just want to use my gut to banish it from my sight. Or maybe I want to experience the once-in-a-lifetime feeling of being hit with over 1,000 rads. Maybe I want my life to be a mess. Maybe I want it to take me out. Maybe I want it to try. But seriously, the way some folk will talk about weight, it seems as if the only people who are allowed to be over 240 pounds are lumberjacks, girls with terrifyingly large asses and breasts, and sumo wrestlers. Now I kind of want to see some sort of crazy combination of all three. That could be very interesting. But that's besides the point. Don't pay any attention to me. No. This episode of King of the Hill tackles what we in the modern age would call fat shaming or body shaming, but back then we just had the umbrella term of bullying.
Hey, fatty! You are fat!
I'm actually really glad we have a more specific term to use, as it keeps things from being confusing. But essentially, this episode attempts to confront the following question. Should you be proud of something about yourself that other people would pick on you for? And already, I would say that sweeping statements like this, like a yes or no to that broad question, are too just sort of all-encompassing for one simple answer. On the one hand, many adventurous or smart ideas were initially met with resistance. Things like seatbelts, condoms, round globes, peanut butter, peanut brittle, peanut M&Ms, peanut butter cups, and who could forget the almighty peanut butter banana bacon sandwich? But on the other hand, sometimes we need to be bullied out of doing bad ideas, like going to prom with your grandma, taking a drink every time Hank says propane, or eating a whole plate of lutefisk all by yourself.
Why did you have to taste so good? Why?
Mercy! Mister, what did you eat?
Finally, before we get into the meat of things, I just want to say that I have been both fat and thin, jacked and skin and bones, but I was never bullied for my weight as a child, so I imagine that there are certain jokes in here that are going to fall flat for me, but some other people are going to go like, wow, this is bringing up some bad memories, like, I hate this. And while I do have sympathy for those folks, I really do, I have to admit that I still find a bunch of the fat jokes in this episode to be quite funny, which is just kind of a hard thing to admit, but I guess fundamentally I'm kind of a bad person at my core because I still laugh at some of these things, even though I completely understand that for some people this will be very painful.
These kids don't look like they like sports.
Oh, sure they do. They're wearing sneakers and baseball caps, aren't they?
But I will not be losing sleep over this because, I mean, on the one hand, it's just a cartoon, guys. Like, who cares? This is pretty, like, small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. Let's not, like, worry about it too much. But also because I do not feel that there's any true malice or ill will present in the writing. I think that most of the jokes are done with a pretty even hand and are not done with the intention of hurting or mocking any specific people.
The yard is raked, but this peanut butter is not going to eat itself. Well, back to work.
Plus, there is a big difference between the fat kid store being called H. Dumpty's and some douchebag on Instagram smugly telling a plus-size model that they will be dead at 52. Like, that is just an entirely different world of, like, just crazy cruelty, and I think that it's important to recognize that while this show maybe isn't treating everybody with the, like, you know, kid gloves here, we are not doing anything that is, like, super awful or mega crazy. And I always find people that leave mean comments, and I say people because both men and women will do this kind of stuff, extremely fascinating, as they seem to think that things like cancer, car crashes, and swords being held by a single horse's hair to only affect people over 160 pounds. If I were a cynic, I would say that the people who leave mean comments like this are so afraid of death that they actively seek out people who they believe are closer to dying than themselves, but not like actually close to death, like kids with cancer, because picking on them would be wrong compared to what we're doing here, and they will find these larger people and do a bit of shaming just to make themselves feel a little bit better about their own inevitable demise. They find someone who they think is going to die before them and kind of go like, ha 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 ha. But, you know, these, like, horrible people are just a drain on society, and I honestly believe if I were president, I would make a bill that says those kind of people, if you leave a comment on somebody's picture like that, you will be dunked in oil and eaten.
This is a fat kid's door.
Oh, Lord.
But thank God I'm not a cynic or president, I'm just a little skeleton boy who does reviews. But okay, I'll stop talking about death for once and get into what I do best. Okay, well, second best, but I'll let you guess the first.
This is weird. Sounds like the dryer's on, but all their clothes are on the floor.
The episode opens with the Hill family going to the department store Shellwinds, which sells a bunch of kitschy junk and clothes.
Do you think those earrings would look nice on me, Hank?
You gotta think practical, Peggy. Earrings don't keep you warm.
It's nice to see the Hill family all going out like this, instead of this just being like something that's done between two family members, like Hank and Bobby, or Peggy and Bobby, or Peggy and Hank. Having the full trinity keeps things fresh without getting overwhelming. Unfortunately, it seems as if Bobby is overwhelming his new pants, with his husky figure making quick work of these on-sale clothes. Hank then gets the attention of a salesman, who is apparently named Dial, going by his name tag, and asks for help. Rather than just offering them a larger size of pants, he instead decides to let a sale walk out the door and suggests that Bobby should go to a special store for special children.
Are you talking about a fat kid's store?
Oh, well, that word won't win you any friends at H. Dumpty's.
Now, I don't want to be the jerk who has to point out the obvious here, but how can we throw stones at Bobby when Hank's gut and love handles are practically erupting over his pants? I know the man works in barbecue, but I think he must do some baking on the side, because he's got one glorious muffin top. But instead of crumpling in shame or disgust, Hank admirably takes this news in stride and perfectly adapts to the clerk's assessment of Bobby's weight, resulting in this glorious line read.
Well, let's go tell Bobby he's fat.
Peggy, wearing her best detective coat, tells Hank that this is a sensitive topic, one that needs to be handled with dignity and grace.
Oh, for crying out loud.
On their way to the Fatty Fat Kids store, Peggy, being the black-hearted monster that she is, decides to rub salt in her baby boy's eyes, calling him a special snowflake.
Every snowflake is different in its own beautiful, God-given way. Right, Hank?
Sure. Some are a whole lot bigger than others.
Oh wait, this was before heartfelt terms of endearment were turned into snarled insults. Maybe in 10 years someone will call me their only true love, and it'll turn my guts into a hate-filled slurry. Let's call this phenomenon the uglification of love. Once at the store, which is hilariously called H. Dumpty's and has a collage of egg people on the sign, Hank and Peggy do their absolute best to keep things positive.
You'd never guess they could stretch as they do and still keep their shape. Must be using some sort of advanced polymer.
But it soon becomes apparent that the kids of this store are apparently of portly proportions, with one kid in particular looking like a 45-year-old teamster named Douglas from a CGI Disney movie, and Bobby begins to put the pieces together.
This is a fat kid's store.
Oh, Bobby, we love you so much.
Oh, Lord.
And what's so great about this is that Hank recognizes that this is really no big deal. He doesn't say to Bobby, well son, if you threw out the fruit pies and started bench lifting my truck, then maybe you'd earn your way back to Shellwinds. No, he correctly says that they are just out shopping for clothes, no different from any old store, and it is perfectly fine to be doing so. And with his parents' support, Bobby begins to embrace his new apparel options.
Hey, I'm dressed like a football coach.
You call that a block?
Look at me. I'm a minister.
And I really love all of Bobby's new clothes. He actually looks really good in all of them. But what is up with Hank and Peggy's faces here, though? It's so creepy. I mean, he's not jumping out in a thong or anything, guys. Sheesh, don't look at him like that. What's up with the faces? And expanding upon this further, here's a little question about Hank. Is he exacerbated with Bobby because his son is basically playing dress up, or is he actually not on board with the whole fat kid store and is just trying to hide his true feelings? The answer to this saunters up to the hills as the owner of the store, Hal Dumpty, is wowed by Bobby's enthusiasm and offers to get Bobby into an ad that they're about to run promoting the store. Although apparently Mr. Dumpty is a horrible planner, as the photo shoot is happening the very next day and he is still out here recruiting. Everyone else seems to be on board with the photo shoot idea, but Hank immediately tenses up and makes up a flimsy excuse for why they are gonna have to miss it.
Because we're very, very busy. That's why. We've got a lot to do today.
Well, the photo shoot's not until tomorrow.
We have even less time then. Thank you.
Essentially, Hank does not want Bobby to get involved in the world of modeling. It has virtually nothing to do with Bobby's weight or the actual ads he'll be in. It's just that Hank gets very uncomfortable when it comes to things that he sees as showboating, prideful, or trendy. He believes that if you're gonna get praise, then it has to be earned through hard work and dedication, not caring if you're actually given attention, but more that what you're doing has value and knowing that other people will appreciate it because guess what? You did a good job. It's a very sort of like don't be a tryhard kind of mindset, and I can mostly get on board with it. If you spend a bunch of time learning a skill, like building your own pool for example, then even if no one takes notice of your efforts, at least you can still build a pool, at least you still have that to have. But if you are only seeking attention for attention's sake, then it all becomes much more hollow. In a perfect counterbalance to Hank's worldview, Luann appears and proposes an alternative.
Bobby, models are some of the happiest people on Earth.
I like being happy.
In order to make up for how she treated Bobby during the Halloween episode, Luann offers to be his driver/stylist. This of course means that Bobby can actually go to the photo shoot now. Huzzah! All the praise for the acolyte. But oh no! Bobby decides to deliver the news of the photo shoot going well to his father in the worst way imaginable.
Hey, this isn't a restaurant review, it's a paid advertisement.
Dad, a man took pictures of me.
What?
That remains the single best out-of-context joke in the whole show, I swear. It is the perfect kind of thing to terrify your parents and get a fantastic "what" out of Hank. Even worse than this, we learn that a very particular picture is going to be mass-produced.
Ah!
Oh yeah, that's my favorite too. That's the one that's gonna be in tomorrow's paper tomorrow.
This may actually be one of the first true blah moments from Hank, but it is certainly the most bombastic and loud so far. Not eager for his son's side cheeks to be present in the neighborhood's paper, Hank goes around ripping the ad from everyone's newspaper, leading to this very odd encounter with Bill.
Did you come over to have breakfast with me because you thought I was lonely?
Much like his appearance in the Arrowhead episode, Bill is being presented as a very jovial and jolly guy, smiling happily and asking Hank if he'd like to have a couple of breakfast potatoes with him. There's no jealousy, no resentment, or obsession in Bill's character yet. He is much more of a Patrick Star kind of figure, just a big dope that only wants to spend time with his best friend. But Hank is quick to remind Bill that Dale is actually his best friend and ditches his well-meaning pal. Back at the Hill House, Peggy is on the phone with the second biggest talent agent in all of Arlen, woo, who apparently saw Bobby's ad and wants to get him, quote, lots of work. You know, TV shows always make it look so easy to get these amazing jobs. Offers of employment just fly into our characters' faces, whisking them away to fantastic and dazzling new careers. Must be nice, must be so great for you. Ugh. But instead of taking advantage of this gift from above, Hank pulls Peggy aside and makes his concerns known.
Why are you encouraging Bobby? I'm trying to contain an outbreak here and you're driving the monkey to the airport.
It's this conversation between Hank and Peggy that I really want to pull apart because the core of the episode is right here. In Hank's own words, he is trying to protect Bobby because, quote, kids always victimize the one who's different, unquote, which makes us think that Hank himself was bullied, but that is not quite what happened.
Hey, fatty! You are fat!
And actually, I really like how this flashback is used here. Hank clearly regrets what he did and has matured out of this attitude, and it's an important thing to remember that he has matured because guess what, people? Crappy individuals can become better. I'm always a little uncomfortable when someone, especially a young person, says or does something stupid online and gets dogpiled endlessly or labeled as irredeemable. If the goal is to have there be less crappy people in the world, then we should be encouraging people to grow and forgive someone when they have genuinely changed or apologize for the things that they have said or done. Of course, there are definitely people who will take advantage of that kind of kindness, or who are so far gone, so toxic, so awful, that it would require someone to work full time with them to sort of unplug them from these ideas, and who the heck has the time of day for that, but the general principle remains sound. Shame and pushback is fine, but if we totally wrote off Hank for yelling unacceptable hate speech like fatty fatty boomba then we would be ignoring all of the good that he is doing right now. And you know what? I think that the way that Hank is presenting his argument is, at heart, a very good strategy.
I'm not saying Bobby shouldn't be proud. I'm just saying he should keep it to himself. And if that means one day he ends up on Oprah with nothing to say, well then so be it.
And this is the part that I really like, because right here he is not denying Bobby his confidence or pride in himself, but Hank knows how cruel the world can be, and, most importantly, he knows his son and how sensitive he is. Throwing Bobby out there into the fashion world where people are going to make fun of him, people are going to harass him, people are going to say awful things about him would be like putting an ice sculpture in the desert. Poor Bobby just is not built for that kind of heat. If he were better at defending himself, or if the world at large were more accepting, then this would not be a problem at all.
If you run that ad in your paper, my son could never go back to school. You've seen his picture. You can tell he's not very good with his fists.
But hey, you know what? Maybe Hank is wrong. Let's see how the world reacts to Bobby putting himself out there.
Can I get you something? Water?
It's in a bottle?
When you reach the top, son, you'll find most everything is.
Bobby's agent lays out the wonderful world of modeling, signing Bobby up for a photo shoot for a line of clothes called Gravitas, and presenting us with an upcoming Little Junior Plus fashion show headlined by the one and only surviving Garbage Pail Kid, Andy Maynard.
Hey, I've seen that guy. He likes a Sunday, even on a Monday.
Now flush with cash, Bobby begins to pull away from his dad, buying his own CDs and bike helmet, which is a weird thing for Hank to withhold, but maybe it's like a weird bike helmet, I don't know. But he even pays Bill to do his own chores. As Bobby prepares to go to his next photo shoot, we get a prime example of the bullying that Hank was so worried about. Hank lies to Dale and Boomhauer, saying that they're just going out to get a family portrait done, and they respond with this.
So Family Boy's getting his portrait taken. Whee! Did you bring your comb? I'm funny.
I'm gonna act like this, like, get my good side, man. You done your pretty sissy out like that.
Now, it is one thing to make stupid jokes with your friends, but dunking on someone for hanging out with their family, even the man's man might find that to be a step too far, which allows us to relate to Hank's fears about Bobby getting made fun of, because clearly this is a little bit more brutal than we're used to. At the set, Hank finds himself surrounded by tech music, crop tops, and snakes as accessories. But on Bobby's side of things, he's responding great to the coaching by his photographer, hitting those nice poses and beginning to gain real confidence in himself.
They try to tackle you, but you won't let them because you look too fantastic.
Pushed to his limits, Hank shuts the whole thing down and hustles his family into the car, and goddamn is he pissed. He will not hear what anyone has to say about anything. It is all over. Shut up, no.
Dad.
No!
Uncle,
No!
you don't even know what I was gonna say. My hair is caught in the door.
But because Hank does not take the time to make his concerns known, he just comes off as a tyrant who's just doing things because he wants to ruin Bobby's chance at fame and fortune. He comes off like a complete monster, even though we know why he is doing this. And this is where, if you had only been lazily paying attention while in a Dorito-induced haze, you might go, wow, what an asshole, I can't believe Hank is doing this, poor Bobby, and the episode isn't doing Hank any favors either. All of the thoughtfulness and nuance is gone from the narrative, and Hank really does seem to be ruling over his family with an iron fist. But when that happens, to Bobby's immense credit, he starts to strike back, taking a taxi out to the fashion show and leaving his dad unaware of where he is.
But one day you'll understand how much love it takes to crush a little boy's dreams. Bobby?
And hey look, we even get the special appearance of a very special someone.
Oh no, not you too. Oh! I'm in a crisis situation here. I gotta go find Bobby. You two take turns kicking each other's asses.
Gosh, I really wonder how Buckley and Luann got back together. Who approached who? In my headcanon fanfiction, which I'll be submitting to Propane Monthly, Luann called Buckley up to brag about being part of Bobby's entourage, and then Buckley used his basset hound eyes to charm his way into her bed for a little fashion show of their own, At the actual fashion show, which compared to Buckley and Luann's has a marked lack of birthday suits, Bobby is given the VIP treatment and encounters God himself, Andy Maynard, who takes Bobby under his wing and helps keep him out of trouble.
Hey, do you want to get into trouble?
No.
Then get me a brownie.
At the same time, Dooley and his motley crew appear and decide to lie in wait under the watchful eye of the whale mascot, which is totally not super on the nose for this kind of event. What the fuck? It's a whale, God. Realizing that Bobby is at the fashion show, Hank goes into maximum overdrive, bobbing and weaving through traffic, nearly running a red light, and sprinting full force into the boys' unguarded dressing room.
Relax, relax. It's nothing I haven't seen before.
Just before Hank intervenes, Bobby learns that he is going on first, headlining the fashion show and delivering a crushing blow to Andy Maynard, who begins to weep like me anytime I see a kind comment on one of my videos. But as Bobby is preparing to go out into the world, his father appears and delivers this stone-cold line.
Are you gonna come quietly, or do I carry you out baby tantrum style?
Now, if this were a show like The Simpsons or especially American Dad, Bobby's heartfelt speech would have swayed the day and the fashion show would have gone down with Bobby in the lead. And to Bobby's immense credit, he does everything he can to fight for his moment in the spotlight, but it simply isn't enough. Not everything is up for debate when you are still a minor. The uncompromising will of his father carries Bobby away, and our fallen savior, Andy Maynard, returns to his former glory.
See you later, Navigator.
And so the show begins, with all the boys resplendent in their acres of cloth, cotton, and polyesters. Everything is going great. Until, that is, a series of tragic events begin to unfold. Dooley and his band of nameless friends begin to create a bullet hell of pastries, with donuts barraging the fashion models, their jelly-filled insides bringing unfathomable pain to these boys, who are forced to run, hide, or at worst, take shelter behind their own companions. Worse still, the delivery boy sees the carnage unfolding, but still chooses to hand over his boxes of donuts, washing his hands of the whole tragedy. Bodies fall, yo-yos come to a stop, and poor Andy Maynard gets completely shredded by the very treats that earned him this career path. He rises up one final time to look upon his ruined kingdom before collapsing, the whale punctuating his fall with a blast of confetti. And the Hill saw the whole thing take place, with Bobby even asking his dad how he knew this was going to happen.
Well, I just know something about human nature, son. If you put teenagers and husky boys and donuts all in the same place, you're just asking for trouble.
And you know, he's right. The world is a cruel place, and sometimes when certain elements come together, you are inevitably going to get an explosive reaction. However, if we want to get really into conspiracy theory territory here with this whole thing, maybe Hank paid Dooley to do this whole hit, specifically telling him to wait until Bobby is clear of the show before he strikes. It's crazy for sure, but if we want to ignore how Dooley seemed to not know what the Little Junior Plus fashion show was, and add in a bunch of imaginary side conversations just to serve this idea, then yes, it's possible, it's very possible. However, Hank's insight into the mind of a bully immediately bites him on the butt when he says this.
It goes to show a father knows what's best for his kid, and the mother, although well-meaning, is usually wrong.
And the episode ends with Peggy dunking on Hank for being wrong about his workout equipment, which he never ended up using, although he will work out like crazy later. And perhaps you could call this something of a wet fart of an ending, especially after that amazing donut sequence, but I think they earned a little easy victory lap, as they clearly knocked it out of the park here. But hey, it's just great to hear Peggy's voice actress doing her Hank Hill impersonation. You really don't hear that every day, and it's actually kind of amazing.
Don't worry, Peggy. I'll use it every day. It's cheaper than going to the gym. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, chest, shoulder, and back.
Okay.
So that's the episode Husky Bobby. How did it go? Well, in my opinion, this is something of an underrated classic. I also do not think that the jokes or subject matter have aged poorly. In fact, I would say that the episode handled all of this complex stuff with a greater degree of sympathy and straightforwardness than many of its late 90s contemporaries, where often the joke was just a fat person doing something and then we laugh. Look at them existing. Look at them trying to do stuff. Ha ha ha.
All of this is my Uncle Phil.
Man, I'm starving. When do we eat here?
We eat here later. You eat here never.
Looks like you eat here often.
And even better, the writers decide to make the antagonist of this piece a more nebulous one, rather than making it someone like Dale or Con harassing Bobby. Imagine if that had been the way they had gone, with Con showing up at the event with a big banner or something, mocking Bobby's weight. Ugh. Making the villain Dooley, who is always ready to drag someone down into the mud at the first opportunity, was the perfect choice. He is the embodiment of society and Hank's old feelings about fat people. Dooley and his friends get away with their donut destruction because these are still attitudes that exist today and are things that we still have to deal with. This isn't something that's coming out of nowhere and we're like, wow, why are they acting like this? We know exactly why they're doing this. The episode isn't saying that Bobby should not be proud of himself, it's just saying that being proud of yourself in this way, in this very public kind of way, is going to bring you into confrontations, and if you are not strong enough to face, fight, or push past them, then for your own sanity and safety, it may not be the best choice for you to put yourself out there. We can't all be expected to rally a cause or spearhead a movement all on our own, because most of us are just people who are trying to live our lives, and King of the Hill perfectly understands this. I mean, heck, they don't even turn Peggy into some larger-than-life activist like Kyle's mom in the South Park movie. And they very easily could have, since Peggy does have the strength of character to weather any criticisms, whether they're constructive or otherwise, but instead they made this a pure Hank and Bobby story, which was really for the best. The ending may leave some people feeling a little unsatisfied, as the final message seems to say that you should just keep your head down and not do anything because people will be mean to you and then get away with it, but the scenario is just too silly for me to feel irritated or take seriously. I mean, for God's sakes, it's just a bunch of boys getting hit by donuts. But it's treated like some sort of gangster crime shooting with dramatic slowdowns and crazy camera angles. It's so over the top, so cinematic, and just so damn good. It just leaves me with a comfortable sense of disaster averted. Our heroes, through their own cunning and strength of character, have managed to escape unharmed and unjellified. But this won't be true for long, because in the next episode, Hank and the boys go looking for trouble and find more than they ever could have imagined. They are about to awaken a sleeping giant, one that may seem benevolent at first, but one who wields an awesome power. I am of course talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Tré Cool of Green Day, or as he's better known in the episode, Kane Sketterberg. And yes, I will be arguing that, in fact, Kane Scuttlebutt did nothing wrong. That should be a lot of fun, as long as people understand that I'm joking, but we'll see. I can't wait to see what people are going to say. They're going to say like, oh my god, I can't believe you believe that. Look, it's just a joke, okay? I'm doing it as a joke. I'm trying to keep it creative and fun over here. Anyway, until then, we can say that this episode, titled Husky Bobby, has indeed been reviewed to death. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. I gotta go. Bye!
Cut! That's it. Go home, everybody. None of this ever happened. I'm not doing anything. I'm not even here. None of us are. Let's go.